Welcome to The Right Atmosphere, podcast for writers, brought to you by Atmosphere Press, the only publisher that puts rewarding and meaningful author experiences above all else. I'm your host, Hayla Alawi. On this episode, we're going to be talking about promoting your books to students in schools with our guest, Peter Felton. Peter was born and raised in San Francisco, California. His lifelong interest in and deep knowledge of modern day San Francisco Bay Area public transportation was documented in his first book, Daily Public Transit Ridership: The Inside Scoop from 2012. His second book, Tommy Rot, a musical reflection of children with special needs from 2015, provides readers with extensive comparative analyses between the outlooks of special case children of today and yesterday, signified by the in-depth music of The Who's rock opera, Tommy. Having achieved his BA from Dominican University of California, Peter's third book, Schools of Thought: Well-Rounded Education in the Lands of Opportunities from 2018, in turn informatively chronicles Peter's social, cultural, and academic experiences, along with noteworthy professional roles he has held in different types of American schools and educational settings. Thank you so much for joining me, Peter.
Oh, thank you too, Halo. It's a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. And obviously, you have this extensive background working with schools and, of course, with students. So you have the advantage of being in tune with the literary tastes and interests of young readers. And the meat and potatoes of our topic today is about how authors can promote their books to students in schools. I imagine that starts with the writing. So my first question is, what age group do you write for, and how do you write convincingly for that age group?
Yeah. Well, I like to think that my writing is very family oriented. And I would say a lot of that has to do with actually the television that I grew up watching on PBS, which were very family oriented shows. And then I watched a lot of family comedies. So I do write chapter books as opposed to picture books. But the way I go about writing the chapter books is writing, so that either older age kids or adults can really understand the vocabulary, but I choose topics that I know a wide variety of people can relate to. So it's like a family affair with the book, whether the parents read to the children or the children pick up the book and say, "Ooh, this looks interesting, let's thumb through it." So I try to keep a very well-rounded perspective in my writing so that a wide range of audiences and readers can relate to it. And, I also am very multi-angular in my topical choices, both per book and within each book, so that multiple people will take interest and it can reach a wider range of audiences as a result.
Yeah, I've kind of not really heard this perspective that, you're not just writing for the child, you're writing for the parent or the teacher or the older brother or, the grandparent, whoever it is. And I'm surprised now that I haven't heard this before because that makes total sense. You would want to be able to not only tell an interesting story to a kid, but also, start conversations in their life. And probably that's what keeps them coming back. I remember as a kid, that's why I read the books I did because they started interesting conversations with people in my life. So I really like this perspective. So then after you finish writing, you've published the book. How do you make sure your book is actually getting into the hands of the readers, the school age readers you're trying to reach?
Yeah, well, since I've had a 2 decade long career teaching, I'm always around kids. I'm always around families and in the public eye as well. So I've done presentations in schools as to the writing process, from coming up with ideas to writing the book itself to publishing it and promoting it. And, I've gone around to different schools that I've been affiliated with, giving those presentations. And what I try to do with these students, no matter their age, is to show them the benefits of learning to write. Because when you're in school, learning to write is one of the cornerstones, the keystones of why you're there. And, also I tutor a lot of students in writing. So I'm always trying to show them the beauty and power of writing as opposed to just learning basic grammar. It's like, here's what it means to write. And as evidenced by my books, if you really do pursue writing, especially when it comes to writing about topics that you're interested in addition to mastering the writing mechanics, then you can really go places. And I talk about the excitement that comes with writing and also the need for consistency in terms of developing writing habits, routines, but also building your knowledge and vocabulary. And I just kind of, have that, as a lot of people tell me, that infectious enthusiasm, which is good. It's what I want. And then when it comes to writing, I encourage the multi-angular approach so that people can read something and say, wow, I've never thought of it that way. Or, maybe it could also be looked at that way. So it keeps them coming back, and that's what you want as a writer, to keep readers returning to your work and to introduce new readers as well.
Yeah, well, it's interesting also, it sounds like, even if a lot of the granular writing of it all is the same, largely speaking, from genre to genre, the kind of event approach or the interpersonal approach is what changes. I can imagine if you're coming from like a literary fiction background or like an MFA background, let's say, you're probably really used to being exposed to reading events where you read from your book and you field questions about your book. But in this case, when you're connecting with those younger readers, it's almost more like a workshop focus where, yeah, you're talking about your book. You might even read from it a little bit, but really you're talking about the writing process and why that's interesting and why they might be interested in learning more and why that might get them into the book. Am I understanding that correctly?
Oh yeah, you definitely are. And I have done book signings and I have done public events as well. But no, it is all about the writing process. And, again, just to encourage students to absorb the love of writing. And, I always tell them in this modern world today, 99% of how we communicate is through writing, whether you're emailing,
Right.
texting, writing in a chat. Now, of course, people can go on social media and not have the greatest grammar, so I'm always saying, don't rely on a computer like autocorrect or Grammarly. That cannot do your writing for you, and neither can AI. You have to really do it yourself. But, here are the benefits because publishing a book, even though one can self-publish now, which is very helpful, the benefits of publishing a book is that, it's like you're being proud of your writing and you've had this idea, no matter what literary genre it falls under, for a long time, and you put in the hard work, and now the world can see it and you can promote it happily. And, lots of people compare writing books to having children of their own. So even though I don't have children of my own, I can definitely attest to that metaphor. But yeah, it's all about the process. And, I know a lot of schools, especially in the elementary levels now, have what they call publishing parties. And, that's all very well and good because it means that the kids have worked hard at their writing and they can show it off to their parents and teachers. But I also like to sneak in that helpful reminder that publishing a book takes a little more than just that. So it's like, but it's a fun and exciting process. And again, it's all about you and your writing as the author and how your book can relate to your readers on a deeply personal level.
Yes, absolutely. I think that connection, I mean, it's so key whether you're writing for kids, adults, whatever it is, but kind of to facilitate that. Are there any strategies that you recommend, particularly chapter book, like kids chapter book or children's book authors use to engage with students when they're doing an author visit at their school? Anything you found works particularly well?
Yeah, well, certainly if the author has multiple copies of their book, if they could pass them around so the kids can look at it, and as the
Mhm.
author's reading from it, if the author has written more than one book, then they could say, have you heard of this other book of mine? And does it connect it all to this one? But yeah, it's all about the relatability because kids will love any type of media or other presentation that relates to them personally because kids are very vulnerable. They're growing every single day. They're uncertain about a lot of things. So books can be very reassuring to say, well, hey, this character is your age and they're going through the same thing, having the same thoughts and similar experiences, and whether this character is real or pretend, maybe it was based on somebody in real life. So yeah, you're definitely not alone. And, kids, of course, also love humorous books and the visual learning components that a lot of children exercise are very helpful with picture books so that they can show the both literal and figurative artistry of writing. And, even for someone my age, I still love children's literature. You still remember those books from your early years, and you always go back to them.
Yes.
And yeah, and same with younger age chapter books. So yeah, writing is almost like a thank you to the teaching world, saying like, thank you for teaching me how to write and do all this research because I'm a nonfiction writer. And now look what I have to show for it. So
Right. Yeah, I love that, especially what you said about, you know, these books are really, no matter how fantastical they are, they really come down to these core experiences that, yeah, kids relate to, and it can be so fulfilling and just it feels so unique to be seen, especially when you're a kid. I think that's part of why all these stories we recall from our childhood, we recall them so vividly. So I think that's all really spot on. Thank you. Before we say goodbye to our guest, I'm happy to say that this podcast is brought to you by Manuscript Makers, a new subscription service from Atmosphere Press. Manuscript Makers exists to empower writers to do the one thing that matters most: finish the book. We're here to help you hit the page, stay on track, and make real progress chapter after chapter. At $99 a month, members gain access to a supportive, purpose-driven environment that provides just enough structure to stay focused without overwhelming their creative flow. Members receive monthly group classes, live group discussions, curated writing prompts and exercises, and exclusive access to an online writing community. We believe in small steps, shared accountability, and showing up, even when it's hard. Whether you're stuck in the middle or so close to the end, we're here to help you finish. Visit atmospherepress.com to learn more about Manuscript Makers and sign up now so we can help you get those pages done. And Peter, where should our listeners go to learn more about you and what it is that you do?
sure. I have several websites. I have a YouTube channel. It's titled Muni Math by Peter Felton. And the Muni, as evidenced by my public transit book, Daily Public Transit Ridership, there's that component. But a lot of the videos on that channel showcase my teaching side. So,
Right.
that's helpful there. And I have some music videos as well. I have an author page on Amazon. It's just simply my first and last name. You can find all three of my books there in hardcover, paperback, and Kindle format. I also have a Facebook author page. It's titled Peter Felton, American Author. And I post updates pertaining to my books or other literary endeavors. And I'm also on Facebook as well. I have a separate profile. So yeah, that is where you can find me online. And also, if you're seeking tutoring services, you can find me on LinkedIn as well as Wyzant, Wyzant. And if you would like my professional support with tutoring, feel free to reach out.
Awesome. You are really all over the place. I love it. Very
Yes.
accessible. It's good to hear. Well, thank you again, Peter. And thanks to all the listeners for tuning in.
All right.
Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of The Right Atmosphere, the Advice for Writers podcast. If you liked what you heard, please leave a review and share this podcast with the writers in your life. And if you're ready to take the next step in your publication journey, visit atmospherepress.com to submit your manuscript for publication consideration or to learn more about writing and what it is that we do. I'm Hala. Thanks for listening, and I'll catch you in the next episode.